recording. Judge ready? Opponent ready? A is the status quo. At tournaments as big as Berkeley, hundreds of debaters get dropped before elims. Although for a few, it's genuinely because they deserve the loss, for many debaters, they actually lose because of their economic status. The debate community is extremely polarized between the rich and poor economies on an economic level. Rich teams get the privilege of team prep, debate camps, backfiles, and access to online resource databases, amongst other things. This has led to big teams getting bigger and small teams getting smaller. So one, the role of the ballot in today's round should not be to prioritize international law, but it should be to vote for the team that best improves Lincoln-Douglas debate. Now you may be wondering as to why this is a unique round, as to why we should be looking towards this. There's a couple reasons. One, every round is its own chance to help improve the event that we both know and love. The second argument is this is my last round in high school speech and debate, so this is a huge impact for me. I want to leave this debate community with leaving a huge impact on something that I think is really important to the community. So it's unique to be looking towards a system like this when we're looking towards my last round, because I want to at least try to get my voice out, which is why I wanted to record the round. Two, prefer critiques over all other arguments because it's a pre-fiat impact. Pre-fiat impacts are greater than post-fiat because the impacts I discuss directly affect the people in this room as well as the people in this tournament as a whole. The post-fiat world, however, discusses a hypothetical world constructed by the mind, right? So this, like the post-fiat world may not ever even occur, but the pre-fiat world is something that we can both look towards. So the B is the impacts of the critiques. So the first advantage here is that if you side with the affirmative in today's round, you spur outside intervention. Debate is a game of like throwing money at cases. Whenever one debater finds a new argument, big schools spend money on coaches, backfiles, and debate camps to have their debaters have substantial chances of beating that argument. For example, a debater at CPS ran a DDEV critique in JVLD, and by the final round, a novice that was 06 had already had preparation against the DDEV critique, and he didn't even know what DDEV was. So like these people are getting these ideas of different critiques without even knowing what they are, just because they have so much money and they can just get vast amounts of prep for no reason. The second advantage here is that privileged teams control what will happen in debate. If rich teams say that the best case in the world is going to be abolishing this, like an abolished wage CP, all the other teams have to follow this idea or they'll be punished. For example, a lot of people get ostracized from the debate community for trying to run different lay arguments or traditional arguments. They get ostracized for trying to be themselves in a debate round. Furthermore, there's a separate example on this. A school a couple of days ago had a tournament, and they wrote the words, "God forbid that this becomes a topicality debate in the judges' handbooks that judges took towards rounds." So that basically ostracized the idea of even using the word topicality in a round, and if you were to use it, you'd automatically drop. So a rich team that held a tournament did that. The third argument we have here is that it prevents small startup teams. So I had one of my friends, he goes to a really small school, and he was trying to start a debate team there. But every time he would go out to a debate team, like to a debate tournament, he'd hit huge schools like Presentation or Harker, and they'd just wipe him down with evidence. And everyone in their team would just keep losing consistently. And because of this, their debate team was actually shut down. They had no more funds. Their coach wouldn't stay there. He moved to a different school. He went to like a bigger school as well. So this is just like showing that like big schools are taking away from small schools ever becoming bigger. For my case in specific, EVSD itself is a huge like debate organization, but EVLD is just two people, me and Kostub Vincere. And Kostub and I are graduating this year, so when we leave, the EVLD program is gone because people have drifted to different programs like Parley, where this is really a big argument because everyone has like equal grounds as well. But in LD, you need a lot of prep to fight with all these people. The fourth advantage is that big schools have enough funds to go around the world to get multiple chances to bid. This creates unfair advantages for small schools because they don't have enough funds to travel. The farthest tournament I've ever been to is Berkeley. Same with Kostub. This is the farthest we've ever been. We've never traveled outside of California. We come from San Jose, so we've stayed in like a 50-mile radius, and we've never had the chance to go outside to ever get more bids. So like this and Stanford were my two chances to get a bid. C is the solvency. Vote me up so people can hear and accept my message. There are dozens of schools at this tournament that would at least think twice about what they're doing. Even big school debaters. Big school debaters are not bad people. They just don't recognize that what they're doing is actually hurting other people. It takes a stand against the idea that being rich makes you a better debater. This will halt the ideas that the quality of a debater can be determined by the debater's income in his school as well. Also, vote me up so my arguments can act as the voice of the oppressed debaters. My Lincoln-Douglas debate team, once again, only has two people, and we've tried to make our own intuitive arguments, but they've always been slammed by books of evidence. Look towards my opponent, who's always been using like a bunch of random people to look towards intuitive arguments that she could have made by her own self. Also look towards the fact that I have no warrants in my case. All of these things were analytical and intuitive arguments that I tried to make myself. I wrote this like an hour before the round, so these are all intuitive arguments that I tried to make so that it would be a fair playing field for us. Also, you should vote my opponent down for this exact reason, because she uses analytical warranted cards for evidence, and these things could have been made could have been made intuitively. So there's two reasons as to why you're going to be looking towards this. A, so if she got this from her school, that just shows you that she's using her school's resources to beat me down instead of trying to do this on her own. B, if she got this off the internet and researched it herself, that's fine. If she did it herself, that's fine. But the reason that's still going to be bad is because she's using intuitive arguments with cards instead of trying to make their own intuitive arguments. So judges always tend to try and drift to the arguments that have warrants instead of the analytical arguments we make. For example, if someone says that living wage is really bad and then they give you no warrants, and then their opponent comes up and says living wage is good, and then they give you like warrants like with a bunch of fancy names, then judges tend to drift towards that side just because like they think that warrants are helpful, but that's not going to be the scenario in this case, and I'll tell you why. So now let's move on to the AC. The AC is simple to look towards. When we look at the idea of international law, which she wants to be the value, that shouldn't really be an impact in today's round at all because the debate technically starts now. I'm not going to go for any on-case impacts on her case. I'm just going to be telling you as to why she is failing to do anything productive for us in the pre-fiat world. So look towards the role of the ballot argument. This is where stuff's actually going to go down. She tells you that the mechanics of law should be the reason as to what we're going to be looking towards as the role of the ballot argument. But the reason that, I think my role of the ballot argument encompasses this because I want to make Lincoln Douglas a better place for people to work together. And the mechanics of laws are like the best way to get towards that idea, right? So like if we say that Lincoln Douglas debate should only allow for X arguments, you can only do like these kinds of critiques, or you can only allow for X kind of counter plans, then we're helping debate become like a safer community. So the mechanics of the law is the role of the ballot for making Lincoln Douglas a better debate is a prerequisite for the mechanics of law. And this is going to be a huge argument when I look towards her justifications for the role of the ballot argument. She talks about this guy named Shapiro who says that, she talks about this man specifically named Nardin who says that international law is, international law is like key to talking about it's going to be like a huge topic in the future. Once again, this is the reason that you should be dropping her because this is one of the many intuitive arguments she could have made, but she just used another card when she could have said it herself, right? So she herself should be dropped just for this specific reason. But if you don't buy that, look towards the fact that that's not the only thing she said. Look towards the Baird evidence when she said that we need to study international law and it's imperative. If you want to study law, you should study law and LD. That's the bigger thing in today's round. I'm ready for cross-X. And thank you for the flashlight.
Okay, so basically your case is talking about how it's just not talking about living wage at all. It's just talking about the fact that we just need to fund these debate schools?
No, I'm saying that big schools are oppressing smaller schools.
Okay, so it has something to do with living wage, right?
No.
Okay, cool. So do you know a girl named Daisy Massey?
No, I don't.
Okay, so she actually got hit by this K one time, and she was really impacted by this. So she made a foundation that said that we should help kids who are less fortunate, and now she has this foundation that helps these kids. So if everyone has equal opportunity to get these briefs, these coaches, these transportations, do you think if this case is still relevant? Because if I showed that kids who are less fortunate than bigger schools get the access to the same briefs, the same transportation, and the same coaches, can you kick the case?
Well, no, that's not what I'm trying to say. I'm not saying that everyone should have the same coach. I'm just saying that everyone should have an equal opportunity to play the game, which means that a big school should not come into a round with all their evidence and just blast it.
Confine these big schools then?
No, you shouldn't confine the big schools, but you need to make them recognize that they're not the only players in the game. There's other people. And the second they recognize that this is a problem, they themselves will try to come up with their own alternatives as to how they can fix the problem for their own school. Because it's not a blanket policy like in a regular policy round, right? Every school acts in its own way. And the second you try to say that I will solve everything, everyone has to do this, you're kind of making it difficult for people to actually listen to your plan.
Okay, but then how can aren't you just creating a blanket policy then?
I'm not creating a blanket policy. I'm telling you that you should vote me up so people hear my message and listen to it, right? And people will look towards debaters and the oppressed debaters in specific and realize that this is a clear issue and they'll come up with their own solvency.
So how can we actually make sure that these debaters are actually going to do what you're trying to make?
I mean, the arguments, I'd respond to that by saying, one, I'm the only one that's trying to help the debaters in this round, and then two, you just have to trust that big debate schools will do this for us. It's just a plea for help, if anything, because we really need this to happen.
Okay, so if you win this round, or if we just talk about this in this round right now, do you still have the obligation to win the round?
Well, yeah, because if you've noticed, if I lose the round, no one else is going to run this K. They'll be like, oh, he got hit by someone else, and then this person beat him.
If I go and talk to my team about the K that I just got hit by, Do you
Mhm.
think those people will, then my team will be informed about this too?
Well, you would probably say I just got hit by this K and I beat it, and then they'd be like, oh, I'm never gonna look at that K again. But if you say I got beat by a K, that has a different stance in the round, right? Then people are like, whoa, this is actually a thing that we can go for. This is something that I can read, and this is something that can help the community as a whole.
Okay, so how do you know this is going to work?
What like how?
Like, how do you know that if you win this round that it's going to be passed on? Or how do you know that I'm going to pass this on?
Well, it doesn't matter if you're gonna pass it on. That's why I'm recording this as well. I want to put it up so like a lot of people can see it, and that's like the best solvency here because you provide no solvency.
Okay. You mind flex that?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, cool. What do you mean by I don't provide solvency?
Well, you haven't. So if you provide solvency, I'll tell
So
you
you're
what.
saying that if I find a way that I can spread the idea that we need to stop, we need to recognize lower schools. Can I turn your K?
It depends.
Okay. If I explain all of my cards analytically in my next rebuttal, can you what are the arguments about how I shouldn't win because my cards draw?
And like the fact that you came in this round thinking that you could get away with that is kind of the reason why I brought it up in the first place. But like I would appreciate it if you did that because I didn't really get a lot of the
Okay.
intuitive arguments.
Okay, cool. So we're just going to do ACNC. Judge read? I want it right?
No, not yet, sorry. Yeah.
Okay. So basically, the only three arguments made against the case is the fact that one, there shouldn't be I shouldn't have impact. I'm not showing impact because I'm not actually using I'm not using analytics. But this is basically because of the fact that after I said my speech, he's like, are these cards? And I can't just change my speech and how I said it because of the fact that if he asked before the round if I could explain it analytically, then I I was gonna be totally fine with this. But since he asked after I said it, it's totally abusive because I can never change my case back to like analytics, or I can never do that. And it's not my fault that I actually found cards and I actually looked for this research. So I shouldn't be held against this if I wrote my case this way. We can go to the bear card. He says that again that like his agreement to mine, but actually that we had the word in debate with the word education, and that is understanding how we solve problems. And the only way to solve problems, and the only way to actually solve like his critique at all, is to actually go to Iowa first, because that's the only way we actually know how things are done and how problems are solved, and that's through international law. So I'm curious as to his, because in order to actually know how to solve problems in the real world, we need international law. And if he wants to solve the problem of making sure that the smaller schools get to be known, then we should go towards international law first. That's the only way to actually implement and know how to solve problems. But you can by that, go to his case. So again, he's talking about like how we should help these smaller schools. And so basically, he can't determine if I'm actually going to go out and actually talk about this if he wins the round. But even though by that, if I still lose this round, I might still go out and talk about this, and I might still like show the kids that again that I won against a case that was really awesome, because the fact that it actually helped, it was trying to actually show that it actually helped kids, or actually try to help kids. But if you know by that, again, there are local organizations such as the one run by Daisy Massey that shows that kids who don't get access to stuff like free, stuff like coaches, can get that access and get that transportation. So even I'm solving because of the fact that I show examples of how kids get this access is the same thing. Like he's trying to show that smaller schools or like independents don't get that the same ability to have and win rounds and actually get like good evidence and get good argument and blocks. But I'm showing again that there are multiple organizations, and there's also multiple independent schools such as Emma Weddle, who did so successful, and even though she was an independent school. So I'm showing that there are multiple examples of how people are actually solving this in the real world. But you can show by that, go to the fact that again there are multiple examples. For example, a teammate of mine, Rick Off, at double octaves in Yale, had 2 coaches, while he won against State had 4 coaches. He still won the round because of the fact that he made arguments, and even though he didn't have the same access as the kid he was going against, he still had that same argument generation that won him the round. So even though kids who try harder and to work hard to actually get to the same level as those who are more fortunate than them. So going back to my case, he basically just wanted to anger my friend besides the fact that he says that I'm using cards. Again, this is basically abusive. I can't go back and fix every single thing in my speech after I said it. And I can explain everything in a way, like if you wanted me to. Like I know my case, I know what my cards say. I'm not just because I got these cards, I looked for these cards, doesn't mean I'm being abusive or I'm being wrong in any way. So don't for that extend my superior card, because saying that in order to actually prioritize something, we have to have national law, because again, international law is the only way to actually like base our obligations over things. Meaning that in order to actually have obligations, we have to first have a national law. Me and mine's specific to his case. You know by that, go to inspector card, because saying that living wage is the best thing because it works under ILO. Also, again, like I'm showing that we can't actually like, even if I lose this round or I win this round, we can't predict that I'm actually going to go out and actually talk about this. If I win this round, I'll go out and talk about it to my teammates, and I'll say that I won against an K that was really awesome. But again, there are multiple examples of organizations that still help these kids who don't get such access, and I'm showing that even like kids can have the same access as those who don't, as those who are higher than them, and they can still work harder to actually achieve this, because there's multiple independent people who still do this and still work extremely hard to get where they are today, meaning that I turn his case because I show examples of how we're actually solving this K in the real world. And again, role of ballot is actually know how to solve problems, and thus I urge to affirm.
I have a minute, 5 left. So was your solvency specifically that we just have a bunch of people go to this Daisy school thing?
No, I'm giving examples of how we can solve this. And one of them is through Daisy Massey's organization, like people can
Okay, wait, but how is you telling us how we can solve this, like, even unique in today's round? Why would you win if you tell us? Aren't you just helping me?
No, I'm saying that, okay, so I'm basically saying that, like, even, like, what do you mean by that? I'm sorry.
Like, you're helping me get solvency as to how my voice can be heard, right?
I'm solving for the K. I'm saying that in order to, like, if you want to actually solve for the K and actually get rid of the problems that you're talking about, we first have to, like, we have organizations and things that will help that, like, help kids like this.
Okay. Okay. I'll respond to her specific voters, and then I'll move on to my own voters. So, Judge, ready? Phone ready? Okay. First, let's look towards the place when I link her into the K. I tell you that she uses this argument of like using cards and analytical warrants as to like how she's going to be linking into this K, because she's perpetuating the mindset that an analytical warrant that's carded is greater than an analytical warrant itself. To this, she says, I'm not being abusive. It's not my fault that I found my cards. And she also says that just because I'm finding cards doesn't mean she's abusive. But she never really attacks what I was saying. She never tells you as to why having analytical carded warrants does not specifically mean that you're oppressing those who just try to bring in analytical warrants like myself. I come up here and give you no warrants. Everything I say comes from my own mind, right? And I did this all throughout myself. Like, these are like all the arguments that I came up with myself. She comes up here and gives you a bunch of things that other people said and uses them as her own. She never tells you as to why she is not being abusive in this specific scenario. She's using the voices of others instead of using her own intuitive arguments as to why she herself is not working. So don't look towards this argument. She is being specifically abusive, and she's still linking into the K in and of itself. The second argument she makes is the contention of international law. She says that it will help us solve problems, so it's a prerequisite to the role of the ballot argument of making Lincoln Douglas a better place. Even if you want to buy that argument, I see no real reason as to why there's still a debate on the role of the ballot at that point. Because we're both agreeing that we need laws in Lincoln Douglas debate. We're both agreeing that Lincoln Douglas debate needs change. So at the end of the day, the role of the ballot specifically at this point, I guess, could be rephrased as like helping Lincoln Douglas debate become a better place through using law. So like we can look towards law and try to make it a better place, but I wouldn't say we have to look towards international law. We would be looking towards like the NDSA law or the NFA laws or like college debate. We wouldn't be looking towards international law. We'd be scoping down the debate as to something that would actually be relevant in today's round. And that's what the K was talking about throughout the round, right? Like, I'm trying to solve for an impact that directly impacts us, and her case initially was trying to solve for an impact that was like in the post-fiat world. The third argument she makes is that she says that if I lose the round, she will go out and talk to people, but if I win the round, there's no guarantee as to what she's going to do. I think that this is a really abusive argument itself, because she's telling you that she will only go out into the world and tell other people about this argument if she wins. So she's telling you that the only way that she'll try to help debate is if she wins. Now, this is the mindset I'm trying to get rid of, this winning mindset that these huge schools are trying to talk about. We'll do anything that we can. We'll get cases from other people. We'll get coaches, and we'll get like prep from like huge brief files just to win. Now, she's telling you that if you drop the round, that is the only way she'll talk, and we don't know what she'll do if she doesn't. So once again, she bit even harder into the K by saying that. So now let's look towards the specific arguments as to why you're going to be looking towards the negation in today's round. You can extend every single impact that I tell you about. I tell you about the outside intervention that's going to happen if we continue to look towards the case in the affirmative world. I tell you that we have privileged teams that are going to be controlling what's going to happen in debate tournaments solely off of the purpose of because of them being a richer school than other people. I tell you about my third argument, which is that this prevents smaller teams from becoming bigger. This is like a huge impact in today's round, because teams like mine are about to die solely on the purpose that people are scared to try the event because they're going to be hit by bigger teams. None of these actually went these all went untouched, right? She's conceding to the impacts of this case. She's saying that the K itself is good, but she in and of herself is contradicting the K, so there's no real reason as to why you should be listening towards her. The biggest impact you're going to be looking towards is that she asks me in my cross-examination that if she can provide solvency in today's round, she'll be winning. So she tells you about this DAISY organization school that helps people get better at speech and debate. There's a couple arguments I have on this. The first argument is, if they're actually helping people, she never actually tells us what they do. She says that she's really vague about what they do. She says they provide like buses, they provide like arguments for people, and they provide other things for people, but they never tell you how they actually do this. So this is a big impact you're going to be looking towards, because it's a matter of pride for a lot of people when they're looking towards their debate teams. I know for a fact that me and Kostub would never want to go to another school just so that we can be a part of a debate team. I want EVSD to represent EVLD. It's a matter of pride for our team to continue to go to these events. The second argument we have on the DAISY organization impact is that she's just assuming that they're going to be helping like all the small schools, and like all these small schools themselves may have the same amount of pride that we have, that you don't see everyone going into an independent school just so that they can become better. They want their schools to become better, but the reason that they can't become better is that they're being oppressed by other things, right? They're being oppressed by bigger schools that are trying to keep them down. So the round breaks down simply here. Look towards the fact that I tell you that we should be looking towards the role of the ballot argument and something that's more impactful for both of us. So we should be looking towards the rule specific in debate, not something out of the world which is international law, because that never really impacts any of us in the round. So the role of the ballot argument should be looking towards like what's going to happen in the round. Look towards the fact that I tell you that she's still being abusive and bites into the K in two separate ways. She says that like I will only tell other people about this specific case if she gets to go and win the round. I'm telling you that if you side with us, regardless of what, like regardless of her winning, this will still go online, right? So people will still hear about the issues. And if I win the round, then people will actually listen to what's happening and they won't just like push me off to the side and say it was just another guy that was trying to win his last round or something like that, right? So this will help us become like better debaters and a better society in general. Also, look towards the fact, and this isn't really like a huge impact, I just wanted to make this clear before I leave, that like big schools does not make someone like a bad person, and I truly believe that if you look towards an organization and critique like this, we can truly change the impacts and the mindsets of other people. So when she tells you that like we have to look towards an organization to like help these people, I don't think that we have to go to that drastic of a measure. If we just look towards like bigger organizations and bigger schools and tell them that this is actually happening, because I'm fairly sure that they're unaware that small schools are being oppressed to this extent, then you can like believe them that they'll try to help these schools out. And we can like, I think as a debate community, we have the right to owe these people like at least the chance of trying to prove themselves as like big organizations should be helping smaller schools as well. For those reasons, I strongly urge a negative vote in today's round. Thank you.
My phone's going out of battery. I had like a minute left. Actually, can I borrow it for this?
Oh, wait, go for it.
Thank you. We're up to the Nancy. Guys ready? Ready? So first off, he says that again, like since I have analytic cards, it means that I shouldn't win this round because I'm being abusive. But again, I can stop this. He could have asked before the speech if I could give just analytic arguments, and I could have done that, and that would be totally fine. But since he asked after my speech, it's just totally abusive because I can't stop that. So don't look to that argument. So that means go down to the fact that he says that the role of the ballot is to make sure that we like influence the debate and like make sure that the debate for everyone is happy and good. But again, I'm showing that in order to actually solve problems like the critique and actually solve these like issues that are happening today, we need to know how we solve these issues, and that's through the mechanics of ILA, because that shows that how we solve real world education and how we solve real world problems, and that's the only way we can actually solve like things like the K is through international law, because that's the only way that she uses how to do that. So I come before him in the role of ballot. We go to today's case. So basically, again, he talks about the fact that I'm being abusive. I'm saying that because the fact that I'm saying that if I win this round and all that stuff, I'm saying that I'm not saying that if I win this round, I'll talk about it. If I lose this round, I won't go out and talk about it. I'm saying that if I win or lose this round, he can't determine if I will or will not go talk about this. I'm saying I'm not telling you to vote for me because I won't talk about it. I'm saying that if you vote for me or if you don't vote for me, he can't determine if I'll actually talk about this. So meaning that you can never actually like determine if the K will actually work. If you don't buy that, go down to the fact that he says that I don't give an actual reason for why, like a justification of how they help them. I'm showing that if you look on Facebook, and it says that Daisy's Massive organization helps providing travel, coaches, and briefs, and so that shows that I'm giving examples of how they help. But even by that, go to the fact that he says is the pride that people like in small schools don't want to go out or independents don't want to go out. Well, the fact that again I show examples of how like in the double octos in like Yale, how a kid who had 2 coaches compared to a kid who had 4 coaches still won. I'm showing that if kids work harder, they can still achieve the same goals as those who don't. And even that independent schools who still don't have like coaches still work hard and still get TOCBs and they still achieve the same thing as those who don't. But you show by that again for the fact that he says that he says that kids wouldn't want to move schools just for the fact to get like coaches through the organization. Well, they don't like in the program like kids don't actually move schools. They don't do anything. They're still in the same program. So they enter an organization that will help them and will actually aid them. And if I show that if I show that I actually solve for the K, then I can win this round, and I'm solving with multiple examples. One, I'm showing that there are organizations that can help these kids. Two, I'm showing that there are examples of kids who actually work really hard to get where they are, and they actually, like, if they work hard enough, they can still win, like, still achieve the same success those who are more fortunate. And also because of the fact that, again, he says that, again, you can't actually determine if I'm going to actually go out and talk about this, so you can't actually, like, know if this will, like, if his K will actually work in the real world. So here's how I'm winning. Framework still stands, and again, send my Shapiro card, which is the second card in my case, basically saying that in order to actually recognize your obligations and take any action in the neg world, which is to have first of that ILL, because that's the only way it guides your action. Basically by that, again, I'm not being evasive because I can't go back and say my speech, and also because the rule of ballot is to actually try to solve problems. The rule of ballot comes for his, because in order to actually solve real world problems, we first need to have international law, because in order to actually solve the K and actually solve that problem in the neg world,